everyone, welcome back to Bloom Through Faith. I'm super excited to have you all here. My name is Diamond. If you are a returning subscriber, welcome. Thank you so much for your presence and for taking the time out to listen and to watch this video. And if you are just finding my channel, welcome. Super grateful to have you here. And yeah, so just to give a quick rundown about like what my channel is about and what it's geared towards, really Bloom Through Faith is really a devotional to myself. And there's been times in my life where I had a lot of doubt, about, maybe my path or my journey or about doing a certain thing. And, one of my promises for this channel was to be completely myself and to really show up and, through all facets of who I am, and to really document like my passions and my hobbies and the things that I love and that I'm interested in, and not just maybe to step more into being myself fully, but also unapologetically, and also for these to be channel like videos for me to go back and look at, almost like oral histories, or like archives or things of that nature, where it's like being able to look at, okay, this was Diamond at this age, and this is what she was doing in this year or that year, like being able to look back at the different archives and memories of myself and see how I've grown, but also to document. I do that already through scrapbooking, and it's also just like another way to create through videos and vlogging and things of that nature. So to just get right into the video, this is going to be like a week in my life kind of a video, but it's different because the footage that I will be showing you, or the pictures that I will be showing you, are not in real time. It's more of like a summary of the week and the beautiful things that unraveled and that happened. So yeah, so I just wanted to put that out there, that it's not me putting clips together of like the different vlogs from each day, but just more of a summary, and then I'll also have pictures included. So that's another thing that I'm really excited about for this channel. You all may have seen already in a couple of my videos, I've designed my own thumbnails, and so within this video it will also have a thumbnail. It'll also have a slide for each day. So yeah, so let's get started. So this setting may look different to people who have watched my videos in the past. I am currently an intern at a homestead slash farm in Virginia, and I won't disclose too much information about exactly where I am or like what farm or what place, just to protect my own personal privacy, but also the privacy of the host. But yeah, I guess I can speak about how this kind of came about. If you all aren't familiar with World Packers, that is a platform that connects hosts and travelers. One second, sorry. Yeah, I just kind of wanted to pull it up to read, to make sure that I'm getting it correct. But it's basically a platform that connects travelers with hosts around the world who need help in exchange for like accommodation, and like sometimes there's other benefits like meals or local activities. And oftentimes the travelers are doing a work exchange. That's basically what this is a work exchange, where we are offering our time and our skills in various locations to receive like a place to stay. But also, it's more than that. It's also you're experiencing different cultures, different foods. You get to travel, and then also you get to kind of like up level your skills and learn new skills that maybe you were curious about, but maybe in your hometown or in your country it's not really popular. Or for example, some people go and they um, go do like NGOs, or they do nonprofit work. They, can teach English to kids. You can build homes. You can learn more about permaculture and farming. You can work on a horse ranch, hostels. So this is my second tour with World Packers. Before here, a few months ago, I was in Hawaii at a horse ranch. Um, Very, very beautiful experience there. So definitely um, a great opportunity for those who may be looking to travel and connect with others and to learn more, and for it to be in a way like meaningful travel, and it's not to say that vacation and that kind of a thing is bad, but you really get to learn more um, about people, and you get to really like delve in and kind of focus into the type of service or the type of skills that you want to gain. So yeah, and also I feel like it's also ethical travel and sustainable travel, and it focuses on supporting local communities. So there's also that. So specifically where I'm at, I wanted to learn more about making medicinal medicines, but I also wanted to learn more about wild foraging. I also wanted to learn more about like edible weeds and how to implement those into culinaries, but also into medicines across the board. And, I really, really enjoy being out in nature. And I like gardening and I like farming. And here at this place, this specific location, there's mini gardens, and there's many ways of being able to steward and being able to tune into the land and tune into the needs of the land and the wildlife. There's tons of wildlife where I am. There's different types of birds, different types of butterflies, deer, rabbits, chipmunks, bears. There's just so much, bobcats, mountain lions, so many vast amount of wildlife that I'm learning that, like, where really is the fear coming from? Where does that come from, and how to have discernment and to have like awareness of the environment, but also to be able to coexist and know that, like, just because we're humans, it doesn't mean that we can just build homes and build these high rises and these things without respect and devotion towards the land and the ecosystems that are embedded and woven into these spaces. Yeah, because I find that you know keeping forests and keeping the wild, it really allows these ecosystems to thrive. And another part of that, of why like I wanted to come here too, is because I wanted to learn more about the native plants in Virginia, but also in the Mid-Atlantic, and also like the invasive plants and the importance of, you know, um, allowing and making space to continually home these native plants, because oftentimes what happens is that invasive plants will get rooted in and they will basically take over, because all of their seeds will then bring up more plants, more of those types of trees, and so it suffocates the soils, it suffocates the roots, and so those native plants die back. And it's so important to have native plants, because without them, the different types of like native pollinators that you know we need, will could inevitably die away. So yeah, but there's more and more that I could speak to, but I'm just gonna get into it because it's now been 10 minutes. So I came here last Friday, which was the 13th, and I started on Monday. Typically with Row Packers, we work for about 4 to 5 hours a day, and it's pretty flexible here, but that's really like the commitment. So oftentimes there's like an agreement of like the amount of time the world packer, the traveler, will devote or will put in towards the project. So yeah, but let me go to my notes. So yeah, I started here on Monday, June 16th. On the first day, I harvested and processed and cooked down lamb's quarter to basically, okay, let me backtrack. So the hosts here are really, really like educated, and they offer a lot of education to the communities and the surrounding communities in this area, and further on like edible foraging and wild foraging. And so we were preparing the lamb's quarter for edible foraging class. That didn't end up happening because I'm trying to think, why didn't that happen? I think due to rain. It was really rainy last week. But yeah, the young lamb's quarter can be eaten raw or cooked like spinach. It contains more iron, protein, vitamin B2, and vitamin C than either spinach or cabbage. And it also contains vitamin A, calcium, and magnesium. So vitamin B12 is basically the riboflavin, and that really has to do with converting food into energy by breaking down the fats and the protein and the carbohydrates. And also it helps us utilize our oxygen in a more efficient manner, as well as it supports normal functioning of cells and much, much more. But it's really important to look at how much of the lamb's quarter that someone may take in because of the oxalates, which is, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, but basically it can really affect those who may already have, a history in their family or within themselves of like kidney issues. So that's just one thing. Oftentimes, like what people consider as weeds or these like things that we don't want in our yard, they're actually are very, very beneficial because one, like they're very nutrient dense, and they often provide even more nutrition and vitamins than like the standard vegetables that we grow, because again we have also changed and like manipulated those since the times of our ancestors to make them bigger and like more yield and to make them sweeter. But like the weeds really are foods that like our ancestors went out and foraged, right? And so our bodies actually, I believe, can actually oftentimes take those in more than maybe when we are like, our bodies are rejecting another type of vegetable or another thing. And also weeds also can help rebuild soil. It can bring more nitrogen, sometimes bring just more. It helps, like for example dandelion, with the taproot that it has, it actually helps break up the soil. So they all have very, very lots of benefits. And also many of the pollinators and other like small wildlife also go in and they eat those. So it's vital nutrients for many creatures, not just humans. So we harvested, processed, and cooked down. And so what that looked like is I was chopping those, I washed them, dried them in the veggie spinner, and they cooked down, and they went into the blender to make a dip. And then also it was made into a green juice, lamb's quarters, blueberries, And with this recipe, you can use any berries, frozen preferred, lemon juice, and maple syrup, or honey, or whatever you have. And that can be like a really healthy green juice, especially if maybe like you're using what you have on hand, and that may just be like, oh, in my yard I have these weeds, and they're not contaminated, like no dog has like urinated or pooped on them. It's not in the way of like where I'm stepping or where the tires of the car may have touched. So it's also easy and accessible, right? Oftentimes weeds in our yards are very accessible, and they're very prolific. That's why people like don't like them, because they just grow and grow and grow. But you can actually use them in foods, and you can drink them, and you can put them in baked goods, and there's so many things that they can be added to, instead of just like these things have to be gotten rid of. And so also on Monday, I weeded out, I helped, excuse me, all of this stuff I helped. This is not me doing it by myself. I'm helping the host with these projects. Helped weed out the hoop house and pulled up mullein, yellow dot, curly dot, common mellow, and plantain. And then also at the end of the day, we made homemade granola with oats, almonds, walnuts, seeds, raisins, and then all of that was mixed into like a like a glass container, a glass baking sheet, and then the it was half water and half peony syrup, and that was like boiled, and it was poured over the granola, and then the granola was put in the oven to roast. And so every 15 minutes we stirred it so that it could be evenly browned, and also yeah, just so every layer was able to be cooked. Pictures inserted throughout the things that I'm talking about. So just look out for those. Future Diamond will be doing that. And then on Tuesday, June 7th, there was gonna be, oh, that was the day. So we were harvesting before the lamb's quarter, and then June 17th was the day that we were gonna have the edible weeds culinary workshop at the local library here. But we just kept getting a lot of rain, and then in the forecast it was saying that it was going to rain and thunderstorm, and then come to find out it really didn't, like in this area. And then in that area, because we're kind of like outside of the major not really a major city, it's all small town, but we are like outside of this bigger quote unquote town. So they also had thunderstorms and a potential tornado warning, and that didn't, like that, it didn't happen. Like those things, it was just kind of like, this was in the weather, but the weather didn't weather. So it actually ended up being a nice day. And so yeah, the class has been postponed. I'm not sure yet when it has been postponed for, but I'll be here to the end of July. So I'm hoping that I'll be able to attend that and to learn more, and to, yeah, just really take in more information about working with weeds, edible weeds, in foraging and culinary context. And yeah, there were just other things that was also happening. I think that night or that morning, I want to say one of the rivers, the closest river to us, also like flooded because it was so much rain. And so There was a neighbor that ended up having to stay, and then a lot of stuff just ended up happening, I think, those 2 days. And yeah, so it's a lot that happened that day. Instead of being in the garden, I was able to summarize and transcribe the podcast that my host, like the host here, she was a guest on. Very, very beautiful podcast. I'll put it in the I'll put it in the description. I'll get her permission first to put it in the description of this video. But just very, very, very potent information there, and how like the importance of like imprinting, excuse me, ourselves to the land at any given moment, and really building a relationship, right? Like, even if you don't live out in the country, if you don't live in the mountains, or if you don't live off grid, you still have a connection to the land. And the land always, the land asks us to also have a connection with it. And so if we really tune into it, we're actually able to have a mutually beneficial and a reciprocal relationship, instead of it being that we're consuming so much. We're actually listening to maybe what the land is asking of us where we live, and also when we take inventory of the plants that are growing, right? And getting curious of like, is this a native plant? Is this an invasive plant? You know, and checking in with like, oh, if a flower is calling me, or if a certain plant is calling me, I'm not gonna just like shake that and be like, okay, well, I'm just gonna move on with my day. I'm actually gonna get curious, to really tune in and to listen to maybe what the medicine is there. Not, maybe you don't have to go as far as like actually making medicine. If you want to and you have experience with that, or if you're cultivating your relationship with the plant in that way through physically making medicines, great. But oftentimes you can also receive information just through taking time and slowing down and sitting in front of the plant, and really setting an intention and closing your eyes and resting in your heart and taking in the information that the plant has for you. And yeah, let me see. But yeah, the podcast is really, really beautiful. I'm going to look really quickly. Yeah, and it also touches on the book that the host here has written. It's called Seasons of Wildlife, and it really invites readers into an intimate relationship with the earth and the plants and the creatures and the seasons. And I really enjoyed the book because it also brings in education, but it also brings in her personal experience, and also it breaks down kind of what we're noticing and get to observe when we are quiet and we listen in, about like really what's showing up and what's happening month to month and in each season. So I love that it's broken down in that way, and it provides insights into the medicinal and nutritional gifts of like weed to native plants, and explores the ancient wisdoms like held in the trees and the animals and our ancestors. But yeah, I think you all will really enjoy the podcast. It also touches on how, in our modern agriculture, foods are often stripped of its, certain nutrients, especially those that like really helped with the gut health and the gut microbiomes and digestion, and those bitter wild foods, right? Because oftentimes now there's so much sugar in a lot of the foods, and there is this call of like, we don't have to completely go and eat completely off the land, because that's also not sustainable, right? But it's also, I think what I'm picking up on is like finding that balance of like, yeah, growing our own food, or if you can't do that, buying the foods and produce from the from ethical grocery stores, ethical farmers, or from CSAs or things like that, but also having supplementing things, and also bringing in that relationship with these other kinds of foods that are grown in the wild or that naturally come up in the wild, and realigning, our bodies and relearning through the cycles of nature, and paying attention for what our bodies are asking for us in each season. And also tuning into how we can deepen into reciprocal relationships within the ecosystem and within our own connection to the land, and making more of a conscious choice of what we decide to put into our bodies, or you know for those who have families or children, thinking about the type of recipes and the type of foods that are being made and put on the table for our loved ones as well. Is this really, asking ourselves, like, is this something that's actually going to make us feel good, or are we just numbing out? Are we disconnecting? Are we grieving? And that's, the patterns or the behaviors of why we're eating a certain way. But yeah, and I think it's also the same too of like people who eat meat, right? Of like having a relationship with the farmers, and I know that, I think in Europe, I want to say that they have, I don't know that it's a law, but I heard, and I could be wrong, so I don't want to say that this is for certain or that this is definitely true, but that in certain like restaurants, or when people buy meats from farmers, from what I was hearing, is that they actually have to have the name of the cattle, right? They have to, if it's a cow, they have to, and it's beef, they have to actually have like, what pasture was this, cow in, or like what farm did this come from? What was the name of the farm? What was the name of the cow? And that type of a thing, so that you actually, it's not this kind of like, oh, I bought this meat from the grocery store and I don't know anything that, of how this cow lived its life, how it was raised, what it ate. And it's the same when people buy eggs as well, right? Like actually asking, where are these, free range eggs and non-GMO, and, what did they eat? And just getting really curious about it, and it not just being like, I'm buying food, and, there's that. And I also just want to say, is that both and, right? Because I also want to recognize there's many people who actually can't go to the farmer's market, right? And who can't afford to eat organically, or can't afford to eat like non-GMO, or they, are living in a food apartheid or food deserts, and they only have certain shops in their areas, or they don't have really transportation. So I just think it's also layered, in the importance of like taking steps to do like what you can, right? So it's not this thing where it has to be completely day and night. Like this is the type of behavior that I had before, and so now I'm doing a whole 360 tomorrow, right? It's like this transition that we get to make, and this journey that we get to make to building a better relationship with the land, and building a better relationship with ourselves. And it's similar to like when we're getting to know someone that, maybe it's going, that we are considering as a romantic partner, or as or a friendship, right? Like we aren't maybe in a rush to get to know this person. It's taking time to actually cultivate the relationship, taking time to get to know who they are, and allowing in a lot of space, a lot of levity, a lot of like, breathe, and allowing them space. So it's like this dance. And so that's what I want to bring forth. I know this video is getting long, but also many of my videos are long, so I'm also coming to terms with that. But yeah, I just want to bring in like our relationship with the land is a dance, right? Because it will change depending on where we live and where we move and how we travel. and the different seasons, and also truly, because also the earth is asking for us to pay attention, that like even season to season, from last spring to this spring, you may notice something completely different, or maybe it's getting warmer sooner, or maybe certain plants are actually blooming or sprouting faster, certain things are slower, and really taking inventory. So, you may not be in a place where you can eat a certain way that maybe you would like, but I think it starts with being able to acknowledge that, and being able to be like choosing that this is the thing that I want. This is where I see myself going, right? And opening that invitation, and so yeah, it may just look like starting with what's already in, the front of your house, or the back of your house, or at a local park. So yeah, I just wanted to bring all that in to just say that like this also isn't about getting it perfect at each and every moment, but it is about noticing and acknowledging and catching ourselves, and really asking like, how are we in relationship with ourselves and our hearts, and how are we in relationship with others, or what we deem quote unquote as a separate person. To me, there's just another aspect of me and another person. But and then also looking at like what is our relationship with with our community, and with the ecosystems, and with the earth, and even like getting curious about like what's actually happening within the national or the local parks, where you live. And maybe it may look like, okay, I can't eat this way, maybe I can't change this or change that, but maybe I can volunteer. Maybe I could learn more about the birds that are in my area, or about the pollinators that are in my area. Maybe I could take a class. So I think that's I think that's all that I want to say there. I think I've talked enough on that point. And I am going to continue. I think I've only gotten to Monday for what happened this past week. So let me go, and I'm pulling up my notes for Tuesday. Maybe I finished Tuesday actually. So yeah, that's what I did. And then also the last part of the day, or at least of my hours at that time, I think it was the afternoon at that point, I also helped dig out comfrey from the rock garden that's closer to the house, and added compost, and tilled the soil, and hydrated the soil, and planted gladiolas and poppies, which I think are the breadseed poppies. So if you all don't know, there is a variety of poppies that you can actually, if you ever have gone to a bakery and they were like, these are poppy seed muffins, that's basically like what that is. And you can also add it to bread. I'm sure you can also add it to other maybe like pastries, or other types of other types of pastries. But also trying to think, what else could you add poppy seeds? I don't know why. This is probably not, but I was thinking for like you could probably add it maybe even in granola, like in granola bars. You probably could add poppy seeds too. Like those all natural. I've seen them on Pinterest. I have tons of Pinterest boards that I love going back to and adding to. But yeah, I can also see that kind of a thing, or like a nice like trail mix. So yeah, but that was really fun. I'm really enjoying my time here, and getting to know the plants in like a deeper way. And it's also a great reminder for me that although I have a relationship with other gardens and other places that I've been, every place is different. Every place is different. And yeah, and it's just like the remembrance of that, and also remembrance of like some things work in one place, and in other places they don't work, and that's okay. I don't have to label it through like the lens of like, as a human, this means good and this means bad. It just is, again, having that awareness and that deepening into listening, into presence, in order to actually take action when I notice that maybe something isn't working, or the land is asking, or the soil or the plants are asking for something completely different, than maybe what I thought or I assumed needed to take place, needed to happen. So then on Wednesday, June 18th, I helped harvest the broadleaf plantain, the elderflowers, washed and dried the plantain and set some aside to air dry, and added the rest to a dehydrator for salve. The dehydrator looks so cool. It was the first time the host here showed me her dehydrator and like how she works with it, and she taught me also how to set the plantain on the dehydrator sheets. And I think that's just such a cool way to kind of speed up, the process in a way, but also to ensure that it's like actually dry and the moisture is being taken out, because when you are making a salve or an oil or an infused oil with plant material, plant parts, it's really important that the water soluble properties are low, or they're taken out, because it can go rancid if not. So I also just wanted to show you all quickly the elder. I've been like kind of regretting that I didn't bring any of the plant parts, but I'm also being reminded that I'll be adding pictures. But I wanted to show you all this elderflower, and how cool it is. This is it right here. I hope you guys can see it, but this is all the elder up here. And there's like 3 or 4 locations, because this is a 58-acre farm. And yeah, so all the elder is there. And there's one in the veggie garden, and then there's also one in the sanctuary garden, and then there's one in the rock garden. So there are many elder trees here, and yeah, they're awesome. So okay, let me keep going. This is going to be a very long video. And then also I helped Dan, who was also one of the hosts. It's a couple, a married couple, and I helped him, and then Kevin, which is a nearby neighbor that helps them a lot on the farm, fix up the hoop house. I think I may have gotten some pictures of how it looked before and after. I've been trying to take a lot of before and after photos, but I'll just share with you all what I have.
What was that, Dan? Oh, I thought you needed some.
But it had holes and tears on one side. They had it for many years, and it was just time to it was time to um, take off that the plastic there, the lining, excuse me, and to just start fresh again. So usually the hoop house, that material can last a couple of years if you know you don't have like the bunnies and the chipmunks and other um, animals trying to get in. But I love the size, and you'll see the size. It reminds me of like how, you know, you'll sometimes see on these large, big scale farms, even sometimes small local farms, they'll have these huge, long hoop houses, or maybe sometimes people call them caterpillar houses. But this one is like a nice size for a family. It also is a nice size for you to be able to grow food for yourself, and then you can also have extra for community members, for neighbors. Um, yeah, so it's really awesome, and yeah, it was really fun. And actually, you know, as long as you have that frame, it actually looks like it's very easy to upkeep, and as long as you have a way to like when you need the doors to be open, because also with the hoop house, the whole point of it is to be able to host, be able to host, be able to have um, the summer loving, heat loving plants. So if you think about um, eggplants and the members of the eggplant families, the nightshades, the tomatoes, the peppers, the even hibiscus can go in there. Um, Basils can go in there. I'm trying to think what else. You can also have lettuce. It all just depends, right? Because oftentimes people will do that inter companion planting because certain crops deter other types of bugs or mites or whatever it might be. Some bring, you know, more nitrogen or certain types of minerals, and that's why they're good as like companions. So yeah, it's definitely something I recommend, and that I'm hoping that when I have um, my own space, that I will build that and I'll learn how to do that, the foundation, the structure, and then yep, every couple few years, just if you know the outer part gets damaged or whatever, just being able to take it off, put it back on. I think I also have like a short clip that I'll also input to show you all. So yeah, that was that. So I learned a new skill, so I was really happy about that. But let me go back. So the broadleaf plantain and broadleaf, the broadleaf plantain and then the narrowleaf plantain, some were put aside to dry, and then some were put into the dehydrator for a salve. Then the elderflowers were put on a towel outside to dry off and to start to soak up the sun, because that was gonna go. Those elderflowers are gonna go into a process, not a process, but a medicinal called a cordial, and you all may know those. As oftentimes people will put those in like seltzer water with ice. You know, also a little bit of that watered down with a lot of water could make nice homemade popsicles, slushies, really anything. It's nice. It's like a mix of a drink and a mix of a syrup, and also people make elderflower liqueur. So yeah, and then I also did some hoop house work. I think that was the day that I tilled the soil. We added, it was very dry. There's some great structures in there because there's some, within the hoop house, there's raised beds. But also, just so you all know, in a hoop house, you can also have non-raised beds. You can actually till the soil directly, so you know, as long as you've tested it to see it doesn't have maybe like heavy metals or like lead and that kind of a thing. And then if it does, there's ways to call like your local extension office, and then and also the different. It's usually like universities, I think, at least in my area, where you can send those the soil testing out, and they'll test it and they'll give you recommendations of what to do. There's also certain plants like sunflowers that will help take up like heavy metals and things in the soil that are like pollutants. What else? So what's my point in saying this? My point in saying this was that you don't have to always have raised beds. You can actually till the soil directly and plant in that way, and that's often another way that farmers and gardeners will use their hoop house for, or like that may be one of the intentions or what it looks like. So within this specific hoop house, there are about 6 raised beds, and the soil was just really dry, and so we took a lot of the horse, or maybe, I don't know if it was horse or cow manure, one of those, and we brought it over. So that was like the compost and the fertilizer. Brought that over, watered. First of all, we weeded. Then we tilled the soil, watered it, then put compost. Then, tilled it some more, bringing the compost, make sure everything was getting mixed in, watered it in, watered, and then also the host also provided me with a paper, like one of those, what are they called? Basically a garden layout of what she wanted in each of the beds in the hoop house. They do here is crop rotation, and that's really good to like help deter pests. It's also really good for the soil, so that the soil, it's like how maybe for some people they keep eating something, and it actually helped their body at first, but then their body got so used to it. It's the same thing of like why it's important to change up where we're putting the vegetables and the things that we're growing, because the soil can also actually get used to a plant being in one specific area, that actually the fertilizer begins to neutralize, and it's not as like beneficial because the soil is smart, the land is smart. So it's really important to do crop rotation for, again, a various amount of reasons. So yeah, then I got that, watered the beds, put compost in, and then after that, after I was finished, I went and harvested nettle. This is what I have here that I should be drinking, or get to, I don't say should, but get to be drinking. This nettle that I had in the fridge for a couple of days, and it was kind of a cold infusion. I've added a little bit of honey. They also have bees here, so it's local, very, very local, on property honey. It tastes very good. I recommend building relationships with the local beekeeper, or even people at the farmer's market. The taste of honey is completely different than these maybe large scale companies that you may find in the tubes in the grocery store. So if you can, and it's within your budget, and it's something that you're interested in, I would check out like local honey, and beekeepers in your local area. But yeah, I added a little bit of honey and some peony syrup to this nettle tea. So yeah, harvested nettles, harvested mulberries, red clover, mint, lemon balm, and motherwort. And all of that is like from the garden, or it's like around, just growing around the property, So yeah, really, really grateful. I plan to make a lot of teas. I also made, like, I think later on in the week, like a foot wash with flower essences in it. So it was awesome. I will also insert the pictures within within this video. And yeah, and then I also insert a picture of the cinquefoil. It's pronounced Cinquefoil. If you look at the flower, to me, it just reminds me of play and softening. It's this yellow, like, it reminds me of childhood. Like this yellow, just like pure flower. It welcomes me in. I love it. And I think if I have a picture, I'll insert it out. And on Thursday, I planted the eggplant, peppers, basil, hibiscus, all of that in the beds that the compost was added to in the hoop house the day before. And so now we're on Thursday, June 19th. Some of them were in more of a zigzag pattern for more space, like the eggplants and peppers. Hibiscus were in a row. Basils were in a vertical row. Hibiscus was in a horizontal row. So it's all based on the spacing that they need and how many of them there were and how big they get, how big the fruits get. So yeah, it was a pretty chill day on Thursday. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that happened. I don't think so. I think then I had more just like downtime for myself. I had a couple meetings that day, and then I made the herbal foot soap with the flower essences. And then on Friday, June 20th, I assisted making, because we were having a plant, and to me it seemed as if it was a plant and a weed identification class and a foraging class. But I think it felt like it was more of identification class and learning more about the benefits and like how to work with them, and really tuning into the subtle of like being able to trying to pronounce this word, differentiate. Yes, that's correct. The different characteristics of the plant, right? Because, for example, sometimes people get elderberry mixed with Queen's Anne's lace, mixed with poison hemlock, mixed with there's another one that's often mixed with wild, I think, like parsnip or something like that. So it's just really important to be able to identify them based on the way that the leaf looks, the type of maybe the way that it smells, the way that the flower, maybe it leans, or the type of petals, the number of petals, the texture, if it's spiky, if it's rough, if it's smooth, if it's shiny, what colors. So yeah, I really enjoyed that class on Friday. And the tabbouleh was made with local mountain mint and also daisy leaves. I will have to find out what type of daisies it was. This is Future Diamond. It was ox eye daisies on top of it, on the top of the final product. Wood sorrel, which is also weed here. It has a very lemony taste. It's really refreshing. Parsley and yeah, I think that was it. And then plus the veggies that we added to the tabbouleh. And they loved it, and I was really happy that I got to learn how to make the recipe. And went into the farmers market in town, very small, very like, but also very like community oriented, and so much presence. And it just felt really good. It felt really good to invest and into the farmers market and buying produce for the week there, and seeing people like sitting down and listening, and people were other community members were like playing the music and the banjo and singing and playing the guitar, and it just felt very like small town, because this town has a very very small population. Um, and then everyone sees me knew each other, so that was pretty cool too. And then I weeded more of the peas. But yeah, definitely on in the garden there's a layer where it's a lot of wild weeds that are growing, and we're gonna get that up so that we can put in, I think tomatoes will go there, or the Three Sisters. Something is gonna go there in the next like week or so. But on the other side, and you all will again see pictures, there's arugula growing, chard, there's carrots, um, and then there was the peas. And then we also have some alliums and other things also growing. It's a big garden. But in that specific section, I was weeding in between the plants, but then also in the rows in which we actually are like the walking rows, like the path. So yeah, yeah, and we really needed to weed the peas too, because we need to be able to, it's time for those to really have more stakes in the ground so that they can start being reminded to trellis up. um, so that's also a project that we will get to in the next couple days. And then at the end, on Friday, I helped cut up the processed plantain from the dehydrator and from the ones that were drying on the towel. And we didn't have what was it? The type of oil that she uses? Oh, I forgot. Grapeseed oil. We were out of grapeseed oil, so we went to the local um, natural food store and got sweet almond oil instead. And so then that was chopped up really small and then put in a jar, and then poured, sweet almond oil was poured all the way to the top. So that will be something that we that will sit for about 6 to 8 weeks, and then it will be made into a salve. So I think that was everything for the week. I hope the pictures kind of liven up the video, and I'm very very excited. I don't know how much maybe it's coming across of that excitement, but it's a very very fun week, and I'm looking forward to next week to see like what we're gonna do, and excited to learn more. And yeah, today it's gonna get hot. I'm out here and it's already pretty hot. I think it's gonna be in the 90s today, so we're having a bit of a heat wave now that the rain kind of wants to stop. um, yeah, I think that's all. I also just wanted to say, um, yes, I'm doing the video. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Okay, I would love it. And once I finish this, I'll meet you there. Um, yeah, that's Annetta. I'm just grateful. I'm grateful for her. She is the host. So again, I told you that it's a married couple, and she, has a PhD, is a psychotherapist, but then also she has just done so much with herbalism and edible weeds and homesteading and he's a photographer and a teacher and a writer and all these things. And so that's who that was. And yeah, I'm just super grateful. Hi, this is Future Diamond / Recording Diamond, just adding some photos quickly that I took during the week that just felt nourishing and just beautiful, beautiful photos. Hope you all enjoy. And the last thing I wanted to say before I close out was that, you know, I'm not oblivious to the things that are happening, in the world with, there's a lot of chaos and there's a lot of that's happening with different countries and happening with different just people in the world and, immigrants and all, and what it means to be an immigrant. What does it mean to be unlawfully here, or unlawfully in a country, and that kind of a thing. And I'm not going to go too much into it, but I just want to say that, my heart goes out to the communities who are suffering at this time, and far and far and wide, close to home, far away, people who don't make these headlines in the news, don't make social media. I wanted to say that their stories and their lives matters as well. And so I just ask, if you've gotten to this point in the video, about an hour into the video, thank you for watching. And also I just invite you to really rest in what does being love mean? What is being in your heart, and being able to observe and to listen and to keep your heart open, and in these times that we're in, what does that look like for you? And to not deflect, and really be able to sit with your emotions, to process what's happening, to be in your body, to speak if you feel that you want to speak, or if there's things on your heart that you want to share. If you are grieving at this time, allow yourself to grieve, allow yourself to feel, because one of the biggest things that we can do, or what some may say is some of the most revolutionary work, is to feel and to be in our bodies, and not to disconnect, not to shift, not to shift as in turning a blind eye, to deflect, right? It's really about sitting in what comes up, because oftentimes when we're triggered, it's actually something from the past that is asking to come up in this moment to be released, right? And so there's an invitation and opportunity to be with ourselves, be with our bodies, be with our neighborhoods, be with the people who are asking us maybe to show up in our inner circles, and to get curious of what your work may look like, because not everybody is meant to be a protester. Not everyone is meant to make phone calls. Not everyone, maybe want to be on the front lines. There's some people who actually, in order for us to show up for life, in order to show up for our families, it takes us actually having a well-regulated nervous system. And it takes us to be able to actually have clear thoughts, for us to actually be in our own center and our own truth. Even when there are systems that are asking us um, to go into fear, or to not trust ourselves, not trust our instincts, not trust what we feel maybe called within our hearts, the type of, maybe offerings, or type of just way that we would like to show up, show up at this time. And I also want to say that I'm for peace, inner peace, but also peace for all. And until like there's peace for everyone, there's really there's peace for no one, because this is not an individual or isolated experience. This is something that that connects us all. And when we ignore or get very apathetic, it shows us how maybe we relate to ourselves when we're also going through pain, or we're going through our shadow, or we're going through a very tough time in our life, and it really asks us to not only be there to see and observe and to listen and to open our hearts to what's happening in the world, but also to ourselves, and so it's okay. It's okay if how you are showing up is different than maybe how people think you should be showing up or projecting onto you to show up. And that's all I'll say. Keep your hearts open. Remember your truth. Remember that we're here to spread love. We're here to spread kindness. We're here to spread, to allow in grace to infuse into us, to be vessels of patience, of discernment, of liberation, and oftentimes we're pioneering the new, and what freedom looks like starts from within, freedom of the mind and of the body, and of unsubscribing to this, group thought or group thinking, or these ideas that we all have to have in order to to agree with another person or to be an ally within our own country. So that's all I'll say there about that. And to keep showing up for life, continue to show up for life, and to go outside, to lay in grass, and to get your feet in some soil and to breathe. Thank you all so much for watching. So much love, and I'll see you all at the video for next week. Peace and blessings. Much love. Bye.